It is the Anfield Wrap. I'm Neil Atkinson. This is the Anfield Wrap in association with RedsBet, where losses, 50% of all losses, and therefore profits for the company go back to support Liverpool supporter-based causes. Gamble responsibly and enjoyably, and if it's not for you, it's not for you. I am Neil Atkinson, and I'm joined by Ben Johnson, Paul Senior and Rob Gutmann to talk primarily about Liverpool 4, West Ham United 1. And we're going to talk about the fact that was a very, very impressive performance from the Reds, Ben. I was sort of the view that I almost wanted the crowd to be more rapturous. I certainly felt like being more rapturous. I think that was the performance of a very, very good side. You can begin to take beaten teams, even like West Ham, bottom half teams, 4-1 for granted. You shouldn't do. That's a really good Liverpool team playing really well.
Yeah, I thought we were excellent. I thought from start to finish we were excellent. We had a little 10 minutes here and there throughout the game, but the response when we wobbled a little bit, both times the response was perfect for different reasons. The first times after they hit the bar, they were on top. Arnautovic was playing well. He's turning Matip a little bit too easily a couple of times, and the response was, okay, well, we're just going to score and then we're just going to control the game. And then second half, when we needed a couple of minutes just to kill the game, we haven't seen it for years, or it felt like we haven't seen it for years. This team just went, yeah, I guess that ball a minute. Van Dijk, Firmino, Oxlade-Chamberlain, just Milner, just doing sensible things with the ball for 10 minutes. The crowd didn't like it because we weren't scoring goals left, right and centre like it was some kind of basketball match. But it was exactly what we needed. And it gives you so much faith that this team's learning and progressing and developing. And Klopp spoke that the last couple of weeks we've focused a lot on our ability to control games. He's mentioned it a couple of times when they've been away. They've looked at tactical stuff. They've looked at being able to ensure that we don't knock off, because when this team doesn't knock off, we can beat anyone in the world. And I think what they're trying to do now is make sure that we never knock off.
Rob?
You know what? I had to watch it back to realise how good we'd been, because during it I'd been a bit more nervous and I think it was justified. I came away thinking we'd perhaps played within ourselves a little bit. I thought that we start very brightly. We make that chance within 3 or 4 minutes, I think, where Salah hits the post. And after that, I felt they frustrate us. Arnautovic has that effort, which is tipped onto the bar, unbelievably vicarious. And when we get the goal, it's a consequence of pressure, but it's headed from a corner. And I always think it's amazing how in those tight games that's the goal that gets you breakthrough. It happens against Brighton. We end up being, I think, it's one of our best performances of the season away at Brighton earlier this season. Regardless of the opposition, we were fantastic that day. But the breakthrough comes on the back of a header from a corner. In terms of controlling it, I always thought we'd take the game away from West Ham. So. Yeah, it was a great performance. It's hard to see it in context. I suppose the context is I had every fear that we might not win it before the game.
Yeah, it's a similar sort of message from me, I suppose. I think the 2 games against West Ham are sort of show the almost immeasurable growth in this side. I remember watching the game at a subscriber event in Belfast, was it? Yeah, Belfast that we did. And Liverpool take the lead, play nice stuff, come on from the second half, and then concede to a Lanzini goal in the away leg. And you go, how do you respond from this? I'd seen at Leicester, Liverpool almost fall apart earlier in the season. Simon Mignolet saves a pen, sort of saves our bacon, although we were quite impressive.
He gives the bacon to them first.
Yeah, he does. He does give them the
bacon-faced.
My point being was that the impending doom of the opposition scoring a goal and Liverpool's ability to fall apart was so apparent then. Where in these 2 games against West Ham, Liverpool have just responded in the perfect way. So obviously, there's the Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain goal that puts the game to bed in London. But in this game, again, what Ben was saying about the way that Liverpool just went, yeah, all right, you scored. Antonio's gone through and got a goal. But then we just knocked it around. I thought Milner and Van Dijk together in tandem were just immense. Both showed a sort of level of experience that you haven't seen in this side. I thought Milner all day was absolutely fantastic. And we went on, scored another, that 4th goal was tremendous. And we go on and win the game. This Liverpool side at the moment are as good a Liverpool side as I've seen in a long, long time.
It strikes me, I mean, we don't have to talk about the game in order, Ben. So let's talk about that period after 3-1. So let's talk about 3-1 to 4-1. One of the things that strikes me within it is you're sort of looking now at a win at Huddersfield, a win at Southampton, which didn't feel quite as controlled, but actually in hindsight, when you watch it back, it was. The win at Porto, against Porto, the goals don't come bang, bang, bang. The goals come like a game that's being managed. And now this one, the 4-1 against West Ham, it seems to me you're seeing a football match just be that's 4 times the last 5 games, and the other game is against a very good Spurs side, where you're able to say Liverpool just always had the right level of control, and that's 4 times out of 5. That's not a coincidence. That's not an accident. That's lads learning, doing the right thing, and I think you see it brilliantly in that period between 3-1 and 4-1, when we just go, right, nothing's going to happen for 5 minutes. Things are going to start to happen. Now we're going to take the game away from you. Now it's 4-1. See you in a bit. It's almost as though like you couldn't have ticked it off better yourself.
One of the things that at the start of the season, the end of last season, one of the things that you used to criticise Klopp is that this Liverpool team don't learn from the mistakes. This Liverpool team, when the system doesn't work, when we don't press as a unit, when positionally we aren't perfect, it breaks down a little bit and it's too easy to score against. We went through that period of conceding the same goal when we're battering teams, and we concede the same goal, the same unfortunate goal. And every week you're looking at each other thinking, this can't carry on. We're too good for this. And now you're looking at a Liverpool team that just, regardless really of who's in it, if you look at them, the midfield today, there's no Wijnaldum. Well, the other day, there's no Wijnaldum, there's no Henderson. And yet the midfield functions.
There's no Lallana. That was our best midfield last season. Last season when we played, our best football, our midfield was Henderson, Wijnaldum, Lallana.
The thing is, Milner's come in, and I thought for a long time his best position was left back, and he couldn't really do it in centre midfield anymore. He's had a resurgence of such that he's providing us something that we needed, and it's not just clever positional play and clever interchanging. It's tackling his men and picking the bits up and being in the right positions to win a foul, give a foul away. This team looks now like a team, to me, that everybody knows where they need to be at all times, with the ball, without the ball. The 2 full-backs either side, regardless of whether it's Gomez or Trent. In fairness, probably Moreno or Robertson, with Moreno's latter form, although Robertson's much better at the moment. They know when to go, when not to. Robertson, early season, was crossing the ball too much every time he got it. Now he's having a touch, he's having a think, he's putting the ball in when it needs putting in. Everybody's playing as one unit. When that unit's so good, it's very, very difficult to defend against. You look, that's a Moyes side who, say what you want about him, and yeah, it's funny to take the piss out of David Moyes all day long, and you can do. And there's loads of, loads of things that you can. Yeah, we'll get onto that. But there's loads of things that you can take the piss out of him for. But what he's very good at is nullifying a game if he wants to. He sets up with 3 centre halves.
Organisation, isn't
it? And the Blue Noses hated him for it, and he wanted shut of him in the end because he wasn't attacking enough. But what he's excellent at doing is nullifying a game. He's gone there with 3 centre halves. Basically played 5 at the back, and they couldn't get tight. They couldn't get near because they go tight against the 3. Oxlade-Chamberlain just goes and has a little wonder, stands next to the centre half for a bit, and then they think, can I go with him or not? And then he drifts, and then he picks the ball up second half. He just kept picking the ball up in number 10 and turning, and there's 3 lads running in front of him. That can't be defended. I don't care who you are. You've got to come up with some plan to defend against that, and that plan needs to be, you've got players as good as we've got. Tottenham were able to do it against us. They're the only team recently that have been able to do it. And the thing that frustrates me is that this Liverpool team isn't getting the credit it deserves. There's been quite a bit of negativity around, what happens if someone gets injured, or what happens if this, or what happens if that. And whenever we batter someone says, yeah, but it was only Spartak Moscow, and they play in the Zenit data systems, and they're not worth the carrot. And I'm going, they've been whacking everyone all season. No one's been there and beat them in the European Cup, but it's okay. We'll go to the next one. We go and whack someone else. We put 3 past Seville in half an hour. All right, we cocked up in the second half of that game. We put 3 past them. They didn't get the ball.
Remember how good Porto were a week ago?
Porto, everyone was telling us Porto, the greatest defensive unit the world's ever seen, blah, 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 this, that, the other. We absolutely give them a hiding. And then people are moaning. People in the papers are saying, yeah, it was only Porto, it's only the Portuguese league. Well, fucking hell. Hang on, give us a bit of credit. Do you know what I mean? And it drives you mad because I think that this is a seriously good football team. Genuinely a very, very good football team. And at some point, possibly when we've got a 6th European Cup round our head, someone's going to run out of excuses as to why we're not. Mm-hmm. And then they'll say, oh, they are a good fucking football team, aren't they, after all?
There's a lot of that going on. Sometimes I get frustrated by Ben's thing. You know, you go to Seville and you put on a performance for a period which is as good as anyone can do in Europe. Porto 5-0 against a side that doesn't lose at home, doesn't lose generally. They're not in the latter stages of the Champions League through being mugs. Yeah, West Ham. Oh, that looks like a difficult game for Liverpool. They're the sort of teams that Liverpool hate to play against. The manager comes away and says, you know, you just can't compete with that. When are this Liverpool side going to start being seen as the only challenger to Manchester City at the moment? You know, watch Man United, Chelsea yesterday. Not in the same league as this Liverpool side. Not on the same league. Manchester United are ahead of us, and it's frustrating. And that's because of what I'm now putting down as yesterday's news. You know, Liverpool's former mistakes, which they've sort of ironed out. I think Ben's point on Milner as well is absolutely spot on. But what I think is maybe the forgotten thing of that is just how much he sort of enables the fullbacks to have a good game in selfless work. You know, this is James Milner, who when he comes off the bench from Man City in 13-14 is a flying right winger, and now he's selflessly covering fullbacks, making Andy Robertson, letting them play basically. So there was times where Robertson maybe gets caught slightly high up the pitch, who's there, Milner, bang, sweeps it up, no problem. It's maybe the sort of experienced head that the side's needed for a while, and it's I think it's just balanced the 3-man midfield.
I just want to come back on Ben's point and part of Paul's point there, Rob. And we've talked about this before. I remember, you know, me and you have talked about 87, 88 a lot, and we've talked about, you know, one of the things that you see in that side is its propensity to score fours. Yeah. That it just scores 4. And I want to use, you know, when Ben's saying there, it always gets written off as, well, what about X? So let's use Bournemouth early this season as an example. We go to Bournemouth, we put 4 past them. And everyone says, well, Bournemouth played into Liverpool's hands, they did this, they did this, they did this. Yeah. Bournemouth, I've just gone through, they have not been whacked at home all season by anybody. No one else has done it. No one else has gone to Dean Court and put 4 past them. We're the only side who've done that. And we're now, you know, we're having this conversation as February turns to March. So someone might still go and do it, but the point is that no one else has.
Until we got there anyway. Yeah,
right until we got there, they had a pretty solid goal difference. My point is that, you know, really, really good sides, they do score 4s, they do score 5s, they make it look routine, but it isn't routine. I wrote in my article at the weekend, 11-12, the only game we scored 4 goals in the league that season, or against top flight opposition full stop, was Chelsea when they just beaten us in the cup final and they were still drunk. We went an entire campaign there, because that was in May, where we didn't bang anyone. And this is the point. The point is that you can keep going, oh, the opposition this, the opposition that. No. This Liverpool team, mate, this Liverpool team are great.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's many seasons. I think the year we win the European Cup, I think you probably only find 2 games where we put that amount of goals past the team. This has now been, I think I saw a stat the other day, is it something like 11 games we've got 4 or more in? There's in all competitions, 2 7s.
We've scored 7 twice.
2 7s, 3 5s, and a hat full of 4s. That's ridiculous. And the point is, when we talk about bad defences, these aren't 4 2s and 4 3s. These are mainly 4 and 5 nils, maybe the odd one. This is a really, really, really strong Liverpool team. And I think we'd seen we did a lot of signs of it last season. People were confused by last season, where we put in a title challenge till Christmas, fell away, then had a lot of injuries and just about got it across the line, but actually finished with quite a lot of good results. But I thought it augured well, broadly. A bit like I felt Brendan Rodgers' season before the title challenge season augured well in the second half, because that team suddenly started to put teams away. Not all the time. It had some shabby days out, but it was winning 3s and 4s. That is a side of a very good side. This isn't going to be the finished version of this Liverpool team. I think we will see something closer to that next season. Now, that's an obvious thing to say, but I thought we saw more of the evolution. I think the Milner thing that everyone's banging on about is absolutely right. He's finally being the player he's always told us he could be in that central midfield position. I like him and a Chamberlain or a Lallana ahead of a number 6. It echoes some of what City are doing, where they're playing 2 number 10s as number 8s. And I think that's where Klopp is going with this. I think you're looking at Keita and another attacking player. It could be a Lamar, it could be a Lallana, but I think attack is Klopp's best form of defence, and I think it's getting a stronger version of defence.
But we're a side that's in prolonged title winning form now. You know,
Yes.
on both domestically and on the European stage. So the real measure of you is what we're doing in Europe, and I don't think we've had a huge test in Europe. But I think when I say the test is what you're doing in Europe, sometimes it's, are you the side that everybody wants to avoid? And I would say we are 100% that. I don't think Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain, Barcelona, not one of them fancies Liverpool home or away. And I think that's the other thing. We can't play our game against these, because if we expand, they'll destroy us. And that harps back to Klopp's first press conference for me, where he says, we'll bring them down to our level, and then we'll pick them off from there. You're seeing that chapter and verse now. You're seeing it 100% that anyone who wants to come and play their game will find a way to nullify that and then pick you off.
On the strong start in this one, Ben, one of the things that strikes me is that, we hit the post early, we lose our way a tiny little bit, they just come into it. I think one of the things that actually helps us in the game is the fact that Arnautovic plays really well, because what that does is that gives them hope, because they're suddenly going, hang on, this fella's having a worldie here today, because he really was. I mean, you can understate how good his performance was. I thought he was terrific, but it made them feel as though we can play a little bit here, and maybe that's going to be a little bit of our way home. And as you saw them begin to come out, then what you got to see was Liverpool steamroll them back, and I think that's dead interesting. They begin to look to push out, and then we just steam them back.
Yeah, and it goes back to that. How's the manager set up against us? Because all of a sudden, previous incarnations of this Liverpool team, you thought we probably need, and we've done it to an extent last season, we need an extra man behind the ball, because in case they break, we need an extra man behind the ball in case they break, because we're not great in transition defending our own box. Now, and teams set up to exploit that, but now you've got Van Dijk in there, who, quite frankly, could well be the greatest centre-half I've ever seen with my eyes. And I know that's ridiculous, and I know it's an overstatement, and all this carry on, but I don't fucking care, because every game we see him play...
We were texting about it the other night.
Every game I see him play, he just looks like...
One-man defence, isn't it?
It is, but it's genuinely... to that extent, and the impact that has on the rest of your team is that, okay, well, you don't need Henderson in front of him.
You go and meet him in moody places in Blackpool, wouldn't you, all day long?
All day long.
Again and again
until you got him.
Yeah,
because
you see why he did
because
that.
his ability to change the team, to change the ability of what the team can do, just by being great in the air, great in the tackle, great, strong and quick over the ground to get back in. And a leader, but also then he can play footy from centre half, and he does play footy from centre half to the extent that you don't need Anderson on his toes, or you don't need Can on his toes. And a couple of times he fucked Can off first half. Lad, go away, I don't need you. I'll do this. You go up there. All of a sudden you've got an extra man then.
All of a sudden everyone's 10 yards higher.
10 yards higher. They've got an extra man to look after. We've got the full-backs on either side being able to bomb on, because we've got big Virgil there. If they lose the ball, he'll sort it out. The only time it falls apart is when Chance uses it all day long, and then we're a little bit ragged because it's obvious just past the ball and he doesn't. And the manager references that. It's how they score. The manager references it. He should have just fucking passed it, and it would have been fine. How do you defend against that? I was worried about Porto. I was genuinely worried, because out of every team left in that, I didn't want Porto, because everyone was saying these fellas are hard, they're strong, they're great in the air, they're tactically brilliant. It's an even matchup. We've just wiped the floor with them. We wiped the floor with them. They didn't have a chance. They had one chance in the first 10 minutes, and then we just battered them. How do you set up against that Liverpool team to defend it? And the teams are able to do it, but you've got to try and come up with a tactical plan now. All the best, because there's variance on what we do as well. You can take Oxlade-Chamberlain out, you put somebody else in that position, and he plays slightly differently. And
do you know what Ben struck me looking at it again? There's pace all over the side. It's not just the front. That back four's really pacey now. Is there a pacier back four as a unit? Van Dijk's got pace. Matip's no slouch. Robertson's very quick.
This is a side quick. 12 months ago we're saying there's one pace, reliant on one man's pace as well. And that's another
fastest
thing.
defence in the division, I'd guess.
It's unbelievable the change from, I don't know, post-Sunderland last year to where we are now, and where everyone just looks fast. The Van Dijk thing is what I've found. When there's good strikers playing and you go, I can watch you all day, and you find yourself just watching his movement. I'm doing it with Van Dijk. He's a fucking centre half. I'm sat there going, look at the way he just he's happy to give them a yard, and he'll run almost at a weird angle with them, and then he'll go for them rather than just overcommitting. I'll go, and then like he did when he came with Southampton. He's almost like rewriting defending a little bit, and he gets it wrong where he steps out. I think he steps out for Firmino. Yeah. He steps out to go to that, and Liverpool almost shifted. Well, you know, that looks strange at the time, but what he's doing is he's going, no, I can see what's happening here. Bang, I'm coming for that. He is honestly worth, all these fucking stupid internet sites that were making jokes about us paying 75 million for him. I'm at that position where I was at with Salah early in the season. Go and give fucking Southampton another 75. He's worth every penny.
I'm at the point where actually, at the time, people go, would you trade Van Dijk for Coutinho in January? I'm going, you wind it back all day long. All day long, because if we had Coutinho, we had him, you know, those options in the front four. You go, that's delicious. Still, I wouldn't want them all necessarily on the pitch at the same time, but our back half of our team would still look the running joke of the division.
You worry at that time, Rob, is what does this side look like without? Does Firmino all of a sudden drop off if Coutinho's not there, or Salah? Are we over reliant on this service or that? Since he's gone, you couldn't tell. You know, we've been that good.
There's a what's your man's name? Is it Andrew Beasley?
Yeah.
Some stats this morning about Liverpool with Coutinho, Liverpool without Coutinho, and it's stark, the difference. I think the points per game since he's left, points per game without him is something like 2.3, and the points with is something like 1.8, and he goes through. It's really interesting. Have a look, but it doesn't look like a blip. You know, and everyone's flapping and everyone's panicking, everyone's calling Klopp a clown, and you know he's an FSG, this, that, the other. When we sell Coutinho, but since then we've battered everyone.
But there's something in general. I mean, I think, for instance, you said that the defence, in the same way that, for instance, we were saying before, when does Liverpool side going to get some credit? The defence, you said it's the running joke of the division. Well, it shouldn't have been. You know,
it was harsh, but it was.
No, it was. But this is another example of people just getting stuff wrong. It shouldn't have been. The defence was actually all right. You know, there's a couple of blips in there where, for instance, you know, if you take from the 4-1 against Spurs, there's the 3-3 in Sevilla, there's the 3-3 against Arsenal. You can point at those ones. But apart from that, you're actually looking at a defence that is, broadly speaking, you know, is being pretty good. And then you've gone and added a far better centre-half into it. You've gone and said, right, those two centre-halves, they're quite good. Let's get one that's brilliant and put him in it and see what it does. And I thought the ease with which they sort of managed that game right the way through on Saturday, Rob, you know, and then watching them shift through the gears. You mentioned it's good to get the goal from a corner. It is. And I think part of that, though, is if you actually look at where the ball gets delivered to, there's two lads who are 6'5" attacking it.
Yeah.
There's Milner, who does a brilliant job pinning the keeper, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a proper bit of Dirk Kuyt, making the keeper's life an absolute misery.
He said he worked on it, didn't he?
Yeah, they clearly worked on it, because the ball's trajectory goes right past those two. If either of them connect, it's almost certainly in. And Can, it's a lovely header. But my point more is, they were really turning the screw at that point. It wasn't like the goal was absolutely coming.
No.
But they were turning the screw. Suddenly West Ham could not get out of their own final third. And you were thinking... You weren't necessarily thinking it's coming in the next 5 minutes, but you were thinking we're going in 1-0 up.
It's 3 consecutive corners, isn't it? It's the third of those. Two slightly mishit crosses, and the wind was a factor. And there's a third cross. There's a momentum of pressure there, and they worked on it in the week. I was watching those corners as you suddenly looked and you had Can, Van Dijk, and Matip, 3 big lads strolling forward. And you think, oh yeah, that doesn't look like a Liverpool set piece situation. Suddenly it felt a very different sort of threat. And I think
Firmino's 5'11", 6.
Yeah.
Mane's decent in the air. You know, this is as you've seen Mane score headers for us. I was looking at it thinking, hang on. I do this thing where I go likely scorers from a set piece. 1, Van Dijk. 2, Matip, even though that's bollocks, he's number 11. 3, Chan's the one who pops up. The point is that you've got to look after Matip. Someone's got to mark him. And if you're West Ham, at some point, you're tall players, you run out of them, and suddenly Emre Can's got room.
Yeah, and it's in both boxes, isn't it, as well? Suddenly that one sort of wide free kick for years we concede, you know, people could get a free kick 10 yards inside our half, and you go, oh shit, we're in trouble here.
Yeah.
No, that's not. But they've worked on that. It's not just the personnel. We now defend those 10 yards outside our own box. I know I've moved from one end of the pitch to another here, but it's every dead ball situations are not trepidation or I'm excited when we get a dead ball. I think something can happen. Maybe not a free kick. It's been a while since I've been excited about a free kick, but certainly from a corner kick.
Yeah, especially the Van Dijk comes close again in this game. He seems to be coming like a.
They should score. To be honest, it's a bad header.
Yeah, it is a bad header.
It's straight down the keeper's throat. There's no power on it.
But this is a side.
Back off.
This is a side.
My favourite thing about him is he makes mistakes and just goes, "Yes, it's Sam. We'll just sort it out in a minute."
We've scored 103 goals, and it's almost like we've added another threat. Do you know what I'm saying? Like Liverpool, for years, has been like the running joke since Upia left, I suppose. Shite at set pieces, both defending and attacking. And now they get a corner. I'm not asked.
Big Matt Skirtle scored 7, 13, 14.
Yeah.
It does make a difference. He put 7 in at the other end, God bless him. But it does make a difference. But watching them shift through the gears, Ben, and that's the thing. I'm watching them win everything throughout the game. Milner wins 9 tackles, and I think that you see that in the run up to half time when we go through the gears. Suddenly they can't get out. Suddenly they're penned. Suddenly they're going, well, how do we actually deal with this? They decide they're going to try and kick Milner out the game, which is really weird but quite entertaining. But there is this waves that begin to come before the break. We get the goal, we pull back, and then it's beginning to come before half time. We pull back, and then second half we come, and it's wave after wave after wave. But it's because of the way they win the ball.
Yeah, I don't care who you are. You struggle if teams don't let you play footy ever anywhere on the pitch. Then you struggle to play footy unless you're a really good team. And West Ham played for about 5 minutes in the first half. They'd kept the ball well, and I know it was just causing us headaches. But it's the work rate all over the pitch. It's not, and that's, I think we've said for quite a while. This team, when it clicks as an 11 unit, there's no one who can beat it. Really, it's very, very difficult to beat it. And there's a couple of examples. Firmino's goal comes from. I think Mane drifts centrally on the attack before the goal, and Firmino drops in for him, left wing. He just drops in for him. He thinks, well, he's there, he's out of position, I'll drop in. If he doesn't drop in, we don't score, because he's then attacking the ball from left wing when Can plays him in. And it's all stuff like that. Someone else misses the ball or loses the ball, someone's grafting for them to fill in. Milner's done it all day long, just plugged holes all day long. And you need that, you need the balance. And it's now, I think the system's been right for a while, just the personnel hasn't been right in terms of we've had a couple of centre-halves who aren't quite as good playing together. You now plonked in one of the best centre-halves in the world, and it's gone up a level. The system was all right, but you had a clown in goal. He's now hopefully never going to play for us ever again, and this fella's starting to show that he's actually half a keeper. Do you know what I mean? The save, he makes a couple of great saves.
It's a great save, that.
The first one.
I think both are great saves.
I didn't even realise he'd saved it until I'd seen it back. I asked the question in the ground. Did he save that? And I don't think really anyone could answer me, but it's a tremendous save once you've seen it back.
You've seen the second one, which I was right in line with it.
It's all over the place,
It's like
isn't
a
it?
fucking sidewinder. It's all over the place. As it's left his foot and you sing it, you go, oh my shit, it's in. And then somehow he gets across.
Sorry to come across your point, Ben. Just the distribution thing with him as well, the keeper. He's on the floor. I can't remember who stood in front of him, and he's got us again on the move. I think that's what Klopp is seeing most in him, is, to be honest, is almost his tactical speed of thought to get us on the move again. So.
The other thing now, and I'll come back to you a bit on it when you talk about the work rate, the other thing that it looks to me is they just look, and why wouldn't you be, but this is the point, it's not its work rate, it's not, sides come to Anfield and they have to graft, and to be fair to them, they do. There's very few sides now that you see that come and you're thinking, what are they playing at there? Sides are coming to Anfield and they're grafting. These lads are grafting and they're buying into it and they're really enjoying it. They're really enjoying themselves. That's the thing one of the things I was taking from it on Saturday was, and why wouldn't you? After it goes, we're all over them to make it 2-0. And why wouldn't you graft? Because you've just scored a boss goal. You've just missed a really good chance. Everyone's alive. Everyone in that front six, plus the 2 full-backs, they all feel like they're either about to set a goal up or score one themselves. They're all, and that's, the look to me, it looks like there's a real raw enjoyment, and we can do a lot of stuff where you talk about team spirit, and team spirit comes through winning. It does, in the same way that buying comes through winning, absolutely. But the point is that it's there in the first place, and then it gets gratified by the fact that, hang on, this is all working, everything's working, let's just all keep doing it. And then you're watching Firmino hair across the pitch at 2-0 to try to win it back, and you're thinking, well, most centre forwards are probably thinking, we'll have a quiet 5 here, and he thinks, no, because if I win this back here, I can set one of my mates up, he can stick it in the back of the net, we can have a lovely kung fu kick together, it's all boss. And that's what you're watching, isn't it? That is what you're watching. They're absolutely loving it.
They're all doing it. Salah against Porto, we're winning 3-0, runs 40 yards to win a ball at left back. You know, there's no need for it. You win a 3-0, he scored 30 goals already this season. You know, most people would say, well, it's fine. But there's an understanding that what they're doing is bringing these results. You know, the work rate is bringing these results. As soon as we stop working, it'll fall apart because it's all built around shape. It's all built around positional play and work rate. And it's impossible to defend against when you get it right, but it's a lot easier to play against when you don't get it right. So everyone's got to buy into it for it to work. And that's you can say what you want about the manager, but part of his brilliance, and he is brilliant, and anyone who says he isn't brilliant can fuck right off. Part of his brilliance is convincing people to track the ball to left back. Mo Salah, you've scored 30 goals this season, go to left back. Firmino, you do it all day long. It's like playing Kante up front, but having the ability to score goals. It's ridiculous, the stuff he does, where he wins the ball back, the pressure he puts under centre mids, blindsided, how many times. He would be a nightmare to play against, an absolute nightmare if you're a centre mid playing against him, because you get no time off your midfield in front here anyway. You've got Oxlade-Chamberlain or Milner running after you, and so you're looking at them, you're thinking, right, where am I going to play this ball? Next minute, he's on your shoulder, he's hard as iron, he's doing them horrible little niggly fouls which aren't fouls. Salah does it all day long, them little... It's not a foul, but it's just enough to put you off balance so they can just... A couple more steps, I just do that, and then in a minute I'll do it again, then, oh yeah, thanks, and then we're away. He's out the game, you're 4-on-3, and... I don't know, I just think we're great.
I want to talk about the assists quickly, the 2 assists for the second and third goal, and even the fourth goal, really, but certainly the Can and Wijnaldum, Can and Oxlade-Chamberlain, Paul. Oxlade-Chamberlain there, you know, it's a give and go with Salah. I think he runs past 4.
Yeah.
You know, he go and it's so mucky in that, you know, he doesn't beat any of them
it's
cleanly.
Persistent though,
but
isn't it?
But he's getting through them, and even the final ball, it looks like he thrashes at it. He knows exactly where Salah is. He knows where he's putting this.
This is Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, by the way, who you watch Arsenal yesterday, abject, you know, and he was one of the ones who was getting the most amount of stick for sort of the attitude problems around Arsenal. There's no attitude problem with him, mate. Absolutely not. That run is sort of the epitome of how he's been since he's at Liverpool. You can just see he came with it almost a glint in his eye. I'm going to fucking show you about this, you know. I'm not a passenger. I'm a top footballer who's been ruined at a football club. He comes into the side at first, and I remember us talking, I think his post since the Spartak Moscow away, that he's got a stink of death about him, you know, and he's just worked at it, and now he's in the first 11 for the most exciting side in the country. Or it's a bit of a hard thing to say with Manchester City, but I'd say the best side to watch in the country at the moment, one of the best sides in Europe. Look at him go. That assist is just pure determination to make it work. Like he's probably got, I think it is 4 fellas he goes around, and he gets away with it. I thought there's a thing. Does he put it through for Mane where he puts it to the left and misses? I thought it could have only been Firmino. I've looked at that in the ground, on some assist that from Firmino. Gone home, watched the highlights back, and gone, that's Oxlade-Chamberlain. What a little ball! Who can play that ball through? He's so exciting, and also, you know, you talk about Milner saying, well, this is where I play. He's been going on about it for a while, and I've been going, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. For what I've seen of him at Arsenal, he's an out-and-out winger, nothing else. What the fuck do I know? Do you know what I mean? That little ball he puts through for Mane is just another level.
He was pulling wide. A couple of balls he got in as well were really good. But the other assist was Emre Can. That's a really good.
And it's a great. I think it's a great ball, and that, you know, he gets it off. He gets one touch, gets it off from under his feet, and I mean, I think at times we try to play that ball too often when they're too deep. I think if there is, you know, looking back over the game when I was watching it back, I was a bit, you know, and I was like that in the ground, lads. You're trying to do something ridiculous there, but for some mad reason, and I think it's because the Reds had gone, because they just had enough of the Reds, because it felt like there was 24 of us and 4 of them at that point. But they push out. You know, honestly, you're playing 5-4-1, and you've got no peace, and you've got no one to pass to, and there's hordes of these. I don't know. Honestly, you must have been thinking, "What are we 3 men down here? It's mad." But the ball over the tops, it's just absolutely perfect for him.
Well, it has to be. It requires the perfect touch, which it gets, and makes the keeper look stupid. But no, Chan's longer passing's got better and better. I was reading Moyes' comments afterwards. He was fulsome in his praise. Was the
for an ex-Manchester United and Everton manager?
Yeah,
as well.
And, you know, for a
That's too
naturally,
gritty teeth,
for a
isn't it?
naturally mean-spirited kind of character that he is, let's not mince words here.
For a joyless chap.
Yeah, for the joylessness of him, he was quite generous. And it was interesting his comments about how stylistically it was a night that we're a nightmare to play against. He talked about the narrow front three, and you don't hear that talked about much because we think of them as all as bloody wingers at the end of the day, and no one's in the centre forward position. The truth is, they're all in the centre forward position all the frigging time. They're always 5 yards off each other. Yeah. That's why you get those chances that the three that Mane the two that Mane gets, which he doesn't score from, and the one that Salah gets as he scores from. Those happen because they're very, very close together. It means the midfield can play vertical balls into feet and know that even if a slight miscontrol, Salah slightly miscontrols it, it's a Mane's feet the next second. It's all there for us if you play that way. But it all depends on how the fullbacks function around.
And that's the other thing, is that the fullbacks, you know, you set up with a 5 at the back against us, and you think, okay, you've got these 3 superstars who are going to need to try and mark out the game, and they're very tight together, as you just said. They're occupying the 3 centre-halves purposefully. So what do? We get a centre mid in Oxlade-Chamberlain, second half, when it's still it's 1-0. We get Oxlade-Chamberlain time and again to go and stand on one of their centre halves. So now you've got 4 fellas marking 3 centre halves, and then you've got your 2 wing backs thinking, so I go in and out them? Well, fuck that, I'm not going anywhere near that because I've got this lad flying down the wing here, so I can't go. And so how do you defend that? Because all Oxlade-Chamberlain, and credit, we talking about Oxlade-Chamberlain there, but credit to him, because a lot of the thing you heard when we signed him, you know, you obviously put feelers out to any mates you've got who are Arsenal fans or whatever. Everybody's saying he's a great lad, he grafts, but he's a bit daft. Positionally a bit daft, and positionally he's not clever enough to play centre mid. I'll tell you what, mate, I watched him. The lad who sits next to me in the ground made the points. Watch him, just keep an eye on where he goes. Now when we've got the ball, we were just circling the ball, and Oxlade-Chamberlain time and again just drifted past the deepest centre mid, went and stood on the centre half for a couple of minutes, and then just drifted in, just dropped in. Like, and the thing is, you know, Lampard used to get, oh, look at Lampard's movements, and it was brilliant. Look at his movements, how clever it is. He drifts in, he's occupied, and then all of a sudden he's in space. Oxlade-Chamberlain's done it for 20 minutes, and he just kept getting the ball to feet, turning, plays the little pass from Mane, plays the one where he runs and beats a couple of men. But that's all because his movement's so clever. He's just drifting in behind on the blind side of people's shoulders all the time. As the ball switches, he moves across. As it switches back, and then he's in space, is he? And then we turn, and we've got 3 men running, and it's almost, well, maybe 4 men running with one of the fullbacks overlapping as well. It's very hard to defend.
Milner support.
And Milner supporting and picking up the bits if they break.
The wider point on this, that I would suppose, is you buy lads sometimes, you go, oh, not sure how that one will work out. And I'm sure Oxlade-Chamberlain's maybe the epitome of that. It was a transfer that divided opinion amongst our supporters. But the thing is, when was the last time the club got a transfer wrong? I can't tell you. I can't tell you the last time the club got a transfer wrong. There's every single lad who we've brought in for a long period of time has improved us in a roundabout way. Oxlade-Chamberlain has been almost like a perfect buy. He can cover left side or right side of midfield. He can play wide of a 3, and he's improved us. You know, even go back to the likes of Wijnaldum. When we signed Wijnaldum, I haven't got a clue what we're getting. He's a number 6 or he's a number 8. I thought we were signing a number 10. You know, a lad who maybe does the job I've just described, what Oxlade-Chamberlain can do.
He thinks he's a number 10. He said it's his best position.
Well, okay. Well, if you talk about the Manchester City thing you were saying earlier, we're just dropping them down one, aren't we? In them tactical
we are,
terms.
we're not, but in that, you know, they can be occupying, and this is, I think, where the manager ends up here, and you see Manchester City do it, and this is the company that we're keeping, and it's important to say that we're talking about this Liverpool side and the company, that Manchester City side.
Who are probably the best side in Europe.
It could be the best side in Europe at the moment. But you've also got, I think what you're looking at though is, you're actually looking at, if it all works, you'll play in the sort of areas where a lad who plays off the front plays. If it all works, because you'll be so high up the pitch. It's just that you'll have 3 lads in front of you and not 1. You'll play in that area, and that'll be the options. And you see Manchester City doing it all the time. You see that, you know, it's not like De Bruyne is picking it up. You know, he's not picking it up deep inside his own half all the time. He's picking it up in you know, he's getting on the ball in the opposition, just where the middle third becomes the final third. That's where he's doing his business, and that's classically where you'd have said someone like, I don't know, Pablo Aimar does his work. He picks it up around there. Well, they're picking it up around there. It's just got 3 lads ahead of them, because they're trust is they're physical enough. They're all physical enough to be able to get back. The other thing that's interesting, Rob, talking about transfers, we're going to want to talk about them more in a bit, but I'm talking about the fact that all we bought is pace, and yet for me, and this shows what pace can do. The outstanding performer for me on the day was Liverpool's slowest lad on the pitch, which was Milner. But suddenly that's so much easier for Milner in that all he's got around him is pace. If everyone's one-paced, then everyone looks one-paced. Suddenly Milner the other day, he's the one who's able to support, pick up bits, win battles, do everyone's donkey work for them, and then still make dynamic runs that break the line, just without doing it with the pace that these other lads have got. And suddenly that all looks like it makes so much more sense for him. And the way in which he's passing it to everyone is he's passing it to them like, you're on the move now. I'm playing you. I've won it back, and I'm passing to you in a manner that tells you you're only going one way. You are on the move, and that's the other thing that I think they're doing really well, is passing it in a way which says you're only going forward.
Yeah, he was. I mean, it was a pretty complete midfield performance by Milner, and I've moved from thinking he's a good squad asset to thinking I think he might be my first name on the midfield and in midfield 3 next week and the week after that on this form. He showed early in the season, I think, in a couple of substitute appearances in Hoffenheim. He comes
Stoke
on
as well.
And so he comes on and he sort of changes the game quietly. And it's been his lifelong ambition since he had 3 good games for Villa in midfield. And no manager has ever had faith in him to do it. But he's got all the gifts, really, and as you said, but without the pace. And yet he finds himself a yard wherever he is on the pitch. He can pull wide, deliver a cross.
I think it's playing in a 3. That suits him most.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it definitely does.
It's that, and it's also, we spoke earlier about the shape, and I think if the shape goes wrong or there's a weak link in that shape, then there's more distance to cover because it's not working properly. If there's more distance to cover, your pace comes into it, and your positional sense.
He was toiling second half against Spurs. The Spurs changed the game, made it much harder for us, made us ragged, and suddenly everyone was going, I'm not sure about Milner here.
Exactly.
He's finding it really hard. Whereas when we were on top first half, you were thinking,
exactly, because it's always easy. You play in any shape, any side, it's always easier if everyone knows what you're doing and everyone's on it. As soon as someone knocks off or someone doesn't press, then there's more gaps. As soon as there's more gaps, you've got more room to run. As soon as there's more room to run, you've got more. You're tired, you're slow when you've got the ball, you're knackered in the brain when you've got the ball, so you panic and then you start making mistakes and you start looking like a bit of a cart horse. Milner's looking great at the moment because the team's playing so well, and it's a lot easier for his natural ability to shine through in terms of positional sense.
Would you keep picking him?
I think the balance with him at the minute is quite nice in terms of the little bits that need picking up. He made 3 or 4 really crucial tackles where they're not in an attacking area, but if you don't make that tackle, they are asking you questions defence. So yeah, I
think in games where you're going deeper in the Champions League, he'll prove to be a massive asset. Just for the lads who's been and won a title.
He's won things.
Yeah, this is it. Where it's a side where I can just see him having a word in big games, reminding lads not to get too carried away like we maybe did in Bâle. Don't overexert yourself in this. Drop 10. All the simple things you hear even at Sunday League level that sometimes they need to be said, and sometimes I think Liverpool are guilty of not saying it. But with him and Van Dijk, I think
the manager called him over. The manager called him over after one of the goals, the second, third, or fourth, and I can't remember which one. I'm really annoyed with myself because I was going to use it in the review show. But he called him over after one of the goals and had a long conversation with him about something that he wanted to be done differently. And it was interesting. It was Milner he called over to have that conversation. My thing on would I start him? I'd start him against everyone home and away in the bottom, what you can call the bottom 10. Because these are lads who tend not to have someone in centre mid who's got the pace to run away from you. I think you saw against Tottenham that it just became a little bit trickier for him, and I agree with Ben in that I think it doesn't take much for it to be a little bit trickier for him to a lot trickier for him, if you know what I mean. I don't think it's the same as it is for a couple of other players. Like I don't think Emre Can's got many 6 out of 10 games in him because of Emre Can. And, he managed to. I thought he gave a full showcase on Saturday of Emre Can-ness.
Full spectrum.
We got the full spectrum across the course of the game. But fair play to him in that because he is a good player. The full spectrum results in you saying, well, he's a good player who has a good game. Milner, I think, hasn't got that many 6 out of 10s in him. Not because he's not capable of 6 out of 10s, but the level we're trying to play at. If it doesn't go quite right, I think it can look muckier than it actually is for him quite quickly, and I think that's a bit hard. So I think United away is a bit of a bellwether one on this. If he picks him at United away, then he's absolutely got him in mind for something. But if I'm picking a team for United away, I'm picking Henderson, Can and one other. He
runs a tremendous amount, James Milner, more than a man who's at the tail end of his career should be doing, and I think that's the problem. When he's come on as substitute, he's actually been a really strong impact sub at times this season, which has surprised me, just how good he's been. And I think you're right about he ran out of legs against Tottenham, but I think you just have to acknowledge that if he's going to be in a big game where you're going to ask him to run and run and run, he's dead after an hour.
The top four picture after the weekend then is, it's another strong victory for the Reds. And I think that it's a matter of, we're doing two things here, Rob. We want to finish as strong as we can. This is a team that deserves to finish, I think, second in the league and should be happy to finish and pleased to finish second in the league. It shouldn't be looked down upon. But there's something else that's happening as well, which is also simultaneously clambering the hill towards ensuring that we qualify for the Champions League next season. They're two things that are obviously inexorably linked because they're the same task, but sort of the way in which you get to look at a bank of games is quite different. For instance, in the let's just make sure we finish in the top four strategy, Chelsea's result at United is no bad thing. In the we're desperate to finish second strategy, you'd rather Chelsea had beaten United. The point of this is that, though, there's a job to be done and we're 3 points closer after the weekend, and Chelsea can't say that.
I had this very discussion in the Boozer yesterday with Stephen Graves. I was saying, at the end of the day, if we're going to finish second, it's going to be about what we do. We are going to be the team that's good enough to finish second, and it won't really matter what Man U do, because we're better than them anyway, if we're going to do that. And I think there's a good chance we do. But in a way, second is vanity. Finishing in the top four is the key. That is, if in terms of what you wish for as a supporter, wish for that gap between us and fifth place to grow every single week. And that gives us the freedom, I think, to be a better team, to be a team that can go further in the Champions League. Watching that game yesterday, Chelsea for the first half hour, you go, they're still a team. They're still a really dangerous team who I would not like to face in the Champions League. But they do fall off a bit of a cliff. And United don't ever get on the cliff and don't fall off it. They just hang in there. In some ways, I can't wait for us to get stuck into them in 2 weeks. I really can't wait for it.
But they're the one I fear most in a strange way.
In a strange way,
because there's no... what's the word? There's no glamour about them. There's no
pretense, is there?
No, there's no desire to go and put on a show. It's just to come away with the product, which is the win, or not being beaten, which I imagine will
stay in the contest, and then they've got the quality.
The only thing I'll say on that is it's backfired plenty for Mourinho at Man United. The stay in the contest. I mean, his record against the big guns is terrible. And I know we're jumping forward a bit, but this Liverpool side now versus when they last played Manchester United, I've stepped it up a little bit. We're a bit more solid, so we'll be able to put our foot on the ball when required. But also, I think even with no Coutinho, I think we can still do damage as an attacking force as well.
You say they're terrible. They've beaten Tottenham and Chelsea at home. Both teams we've only drawn with.
It's a recent improvement from them. That's fair actually. I'm probably talking about a slightly outdated stat, maybe from around the time we last played them. But yes, I in games like that, I would always fancy us. I fancy us against anyone. If you tell me we're playing Real Madrid tomorrow, I'll fancy us. But United are maybe the one where I think they could probably just Swansea us in a way and just demobile us, whatever the word I'm looking for is.
Just take the tempo out of the game.
Yeah, just take the tempo out of the game, stop us from playing, and sneak a horrible one like they did yesterday.
I think though, your brain will always go to United, Ben. But next weekend we've got Newcastle at home and Man City are at home to Chelsea, and there's a point here where obviously what happens at United it'll feel massive. But I'd actually argue what happens next weekend. If Liverpool beat Newcastle, doesn't have to beat them well, but especially if we do beat them well, because goal difference could become a point in this as well. But if we beat them, we can get ourselves into a situation where we can move. We can really begin to put some daylight between us and them. If City then do the decent thing against Chelsea.
Yeah, and I think just looking then on again. Andrew Beasley put something about points per game needed to finish fourth. In the rationale is that we need 76 points. 76 points, reasonably saying that you're going to be fourth. We need less than 2 points a game to do that. And Chelsea need 2.3. So
we need 5 wins roughly.
We need 5 wins. 5 wins and a few bits. we win next week, that's 4 wins. And then you go to United, you've got to free it. You know, if you want to finish second, fine. Give them at Iden. If you draw, it's no bad result at all. You know,
A draw's never a bad result at Old Trafford.
just because we never get any, you know, very rare that we ever get anything at Old Trafford. Okay, we drew last year, but you know, over the years we haven't beat them there for ages. You know, and that was when Moyes was in charge, so that doesn't really count. So yeah, I just think we'd have to really struggle not to finish top 4 now. Even like last season when we needed to win more points than we do this season, we managed to find a way to win games. We dug games out this season. I don't see it being an issue, and you start then changing. Okay, well let's make sure we don't have a qualifier. Let's at least finish third.
I don't think that applies anymore, by the way.
Doesn't it?
Top 4, you're automatically from next season.
Fuck it then.
It's exactly, that's what I'm saying.
It's just that
well, I tell you where you get to.
What does help in the Champions League?
Well, it does. I tell you, what it gets to if all goes according to plan. Our games have been beautifully spread out for us since the turn of the year, and it's why it's working with having just 3 rather than 4 up top. But you get to the business end, April. In the quarterfinals, we're suddenly going to have 2 games a week again, and if we even get beyond that, it's going to extend for a 4 week period. It's at that point where you go, hang on, I wouldn't mind the home game against, who will it be then? I don't know, Bournemouth, for example. I wouldn't mind, we won't have to exactly put Shea Ojo and Kev Stewart out this time, but we may have allowed Chamberlain to play up front and Solanke to play up front and 2 of Mane, Firmino and Salah to drop out. That's where the bonus will come of building a gap now. Chelsea get beaten at City, and there's every possibility they will, and we beat Newcastle. That's a 7-point gap, and as you say, we're running at around 2 points a game all season. Chelsea have to gain at us a point a game for 7 games. They have to win a 7-game winning run to sort of to be in the conversation with us in the last 3. It's a big weekend. This
I think the other thing as well is Chelsea have been on the brink a couple of times this season of the wheels coming right off and them going to bits. And they've managed, in fairness to Conte, he's managed to pull it back a couple of times, but you just wonder whether if they go and get beat next week and then they go out the European Cup the week after, you just wonder whether they've then got the capacity to carry on winning games.
To be fair, and I mean this, and I'm going to say to be fair to the players, and I do mean this because I think, you know, at the minute we're a project. We feel like we're only going one way. You know, it's all about what we can attain and what we can do. There's lads there playing for Chelsea who won the league in 2015 and who won the league in 2017. And I think it is hard to say to them, lads, let's roll our sleeves up for top 4. And I think that's completely, in a human level, that's completely understandable. It's completely understandable.
But haven't they finished 16th as well, or whatever it was?
Well, they was they ended up 9th that season, but they were really poor.
What I'm saying?
But
so haven't they got the pain from that to draw on?
Well, to a little bit, but I think, I don't know, I think that there comes a point where I think, you know, if you are a player, I think you need to feel as though there's professionalism, but then there's also, this is what we're in it to attain this season, and I think that we you know, Klopp sold them the idea of, listen, this season for us it's about consolidation and going as deep as we can into the Champions League and hopefully picking a trophy up. But if we end up at the business end, great. For Chelsea, you've been defending this title, and no one even talks about them now as champions. No one does because of Man City. The extent to which they're irrelevant now, and if they go to Man City and get beaten, if they get made a show of like Spurs did, for instance, then it will be difficult for them to then sort of dust themselves down, because they're going, I'll tell you what, why is this so much harder?
But in addition to that, as well as you say the professional and the art, you know, they will be, but everyone in the world knows Conte's getting off in the summer. So you're playing in the dying embers of a manager's role at a club, and you're out the European Cup, and you've just got whacked by City, or you've been beat by City, and you've got to try and get 7 points back or 10 points back or whatever it is.
By that point,
you think, and plus you've had the legs run off you for the whole of the season because they've got a really small squad and they haven't rotated at all. You're thinking, you know, you start having knocks, you start thinking, well, you want me to be tracking back here?
Got a World Cup
coming up. You know, let's be realistic. So I think Chelsea aren't a million miles away from dropping completely out. I think Arsenal are out of it. So I think it might almost, you just keep a little bit of pressure on now, it might just sort of resolve itself.
Motivation for them has got to be their own personal pride for the next year, hasn't it? Am I a champion? am I a Champions League player? If I'm Eden Hazard and I'm not in the Champions League next year, I can't be spoken about in the same breath as Mo Salah, Messi, Ronaldo.
It's right, but then the other thing is that, and if you're Hazard, if I'm Hazard now, I'm looking at...
Get off.
Exactly. Yeah. Come to the summer, I've been here 5 years, I've won the league, I'm probably not going to win the European Cup, because you're going in now, we're having a whole new rebuilding programme.
I've got 2 league winners
I've
medals.
got 2 league winners medals, I can get off with my head held high. I've won things with Chelsea, and I've won well more than us. And he can go and say to Real Madrid, do you fancy me coming to play for you lads, or whoever? Chelsea. You look at all of them players, all of them can say the same thing pretty much.
Chelsea have got City next weekend. They've also on the 1st of April. They've got Tottenham at home as well, and that one does feel like it's going to be a bit of a marker fixture the day before that we go to Crystal Palace and get a really frustrating draw. Other thing I wanted to talk about, Rob, and we're going to do a gutter show on tour player this week, so we should point that out. But there was
that's a transfer show, folks.
That is a transfer show, a show where we discuss Liverpool's transfer links. There was something that just looked eminently sensible put out by Paul Joyce. Hello, Paul. This week, if you're not following Paul on Twitter and reading him in the Times, do so. And it struck me that there were similarities to last year. To be honest with you, it was like, this is what Liverpool want to do, and there's going to be people who are going to say it might happen, it might not, because you'll always say that. But you sort of think that if Liverpool are putting out at this stage after what they did last season at this time, about around this time of year, Liverpool named 5 players they were going to buy, and 4 of them now play for Liverpool, and the other one's Naby Keita, and he's coming.
Yeah.
To me, it looked like a very, very similar thing. They want Alisson if they can come to terms. They want the lad who plays at Napoli, Jorginho. They want him in. They want someone who comes in and replaces Coutinho. And what was the other one they wanted?
I don't know. I mean, my guess is Pulisic remains target number 1 as the most offensive player they're looking at. Jorginho, the most defensive midfielder, is the replacement for Emre Can, who looks almost certain to go. I don't think they're going to touch centre-half because Gomez is added to the pool that includes Matip and Lovren by then. They're not going to touch full-back because they're all good. So it's Keita plus 1 more in midfield, and I don't think, you asked me to guess, although they've briefed against it, I'm not convinced the Lamar thing's dead. I think it's Pulisic, Lamar, Jorginho, Keita anyway. That's how it looks.
Yeah, I mean, Jorginho's interesting. It was not one I expected to sort of come on the radar. He'll be expensive. You know, we talk about Napoli a lot on the European show and tour player. He's the one that won't make the headlines every week, but he's instrumental. You know, Napoli wrote off their Champions League season to focus on winning the title in Italy. There's still a point. Well, Juventus's game was suspended last night, but they're technically a point ahead. They play tonight, Napoli actually, and he's the enabler again. And I think he's the player who Liverpool will look to sign to allow other lads to play. So I've wondered whether Klopp wanted Keita to come in as a number 6 or a number 8. Number 8 by the looks of things.
He's not a number 6.
I'd be amazed if he sat him in.
I would as well. But you never. Well, we were talking earlier in the show.
He's done things before. You're right.
Yeah, he's almost. You're a great attacking player, but listen, we're just going to take 10% off you and get all the benefits when we're on the break or whatever. I think that's what this move's all about. It's an Emre Can replacement, I'd imagine. The Alisson one, obviously, is probably the world's best up-and-coming goalkeeper. He's had a bad week, but he's tremendous.
What happened to him?
He got caught out in a free kick in Europe, which he probably shouldn't have, from Fred.
Keep him in, you like.
Yeah, Fred at Shakhtar put one past him that he probably shouldn't have.
Made one great save, that was well.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he is a top class goalkeeper. The bigger question for me is what he wants in the position to replace Coutinho. There's talk about Pulisic. He's 19. I don't see how he still gets in the side yet. Hasn't lit the world up for Borussia Dortmund.
He's 20 by the start of next season, but still, yeah, I agree. He's so raw.
He's a project buy, and in the same way as well, I'd imagine Lamar is one that doesn't naturally just come in straight away, but
I think you have.
Both got very bright futures ahead of them. You know?
If Lamar's still in contention, he comes straight in because he's 23.
If you're going to do Pulisic, my little wider business context in this is Liverpool touring America in the summer, and there's no bigger star in America than Christian Pulisic at the moment.
I think the interesting thing about the transfer, you know, the brief, whatever it is, you know, you call it a brief and you call it whatever you want. The transfer rumours. You know, you said about the strike rate from when they done it last year, and now there's 4 or 5 playing for them now. You would imagine they have conversations with the players, obviously, which happens, but you look at all the players who have bought or who were buying. Keita, he's got the same agents as Mane, and they're good mates, and they're not about to get there. And Mane's saying to him, fucking come and play for us, because it's sad. Alisson, he's there, he's Brazilian.
Yeah.
So you'll have a chat with Firmino, Coutinho, what's the story? What's it like? Fucking brilliant, mate. It's great.
Yeah, you can imagine Coutinho goes back and says, you want to play in the Premier League, that'd be great.
That'd be go there. He's at the same club where Salah's just come from. He's looking at Salah now thinking, bloody hell, he's gone through the roof, he's now one of the best players in the world. Okay, I'll have a bowl of that. And you start adding all that up, and it's no wonder, Van Dijk, Wijnaldum gone this year. What's it like playing for Klopp? I'd run through the ball for him. He's great. He's this. He's that. And if we get it right, if you come and box our defence off, we're going to be unstoppable. And he fancied that instead of going and signing for City and getting a medal. This club starts selling itself what they're doing right, and transfers start becoming less of a gamble because you're buying. The transfer policy that we've got at the minute looks to be, let's just buy some of the best players in the world who are perfectly suited to how we play footy, and let's not worry about it.
It reminds me of like Magnificent Seven type movies from when I was a kid, where they had to put a team together and they were going to travel across the desert in 3 different towns and find that one fella. It couldn't just be somebody who lived next door. It had to be him. And this is I like this trans. This is what the sense you get. No, we'll wait. We'll cross mountains and rivers until we find him in a hut in Tibet or wherever, and he's coming to Liverpool.
But the wider context is, and this is the thing where, when you listen to the show last week and people are saying the manager's under pressure, it's fucking nonsense. These are lads where put a phone call into Liverpool and you go, what's it like? That's fucking great, you want to be... Virgil van Dijk could have just walked into City and got a winner's medal. Nah, Klopp. This is the attitude. So when you hear nonsense being spoken about fucking Klopp under pressure, I don't understand where that derives from. It's the best thing to happen to the club for a long, long time.
Okay, thank you very much to Ben Johnson, Paul Senior and Rob Gutmann. And in association with RedsBet, that is the Anfield Wrap.